It's so wonderful to see such beautiful people here today, my family in the front row, and the beautiful mentors I've had throughout my life. There's some flowers here that have been brought from the Royal Children's Hospital, which actually makes me use those tissues very quickly. They're for me, those tissues. Because that's where my career started. And if it wasn't for the children of the Children's Hospital, I wouldn't be standing here now. In the last few days, as I prepared, every one of those children that I was fortunate enough to know, the ones that are in my book and the ones that are not, they are the people that allowed me to do this work. Their stories helped me to grow and become an educator today. Also, in the audience today, there are many people that work with adults and children at end of life. I'm not particularly special. I'm one of all of you. The difference for me is those children gave me the courage to bring death education into the world. If I didn't do this in my lifetime, I had failed their lives. And I decided I needed to honour the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, the 17-year-old boy in my book who changed my life. Because in doing so, their lives live on and we learn something about death. This week I was told that palliative care units are hopeless. There's no hope there. There's no compassion and there's no way I can work there because there's no time. There's always time. It only takes 1 second to give compassion to a dying person. No matter if there's 100 or 200 in a bed. I just came back from Hong Kong. Within 10 years, 3/4 of the community will be over aged 65 years of age. Where is everybody going to go? If we do not start looking after our family and friends and our dying members, yes, we will be alone. But it takes 3 seconds, 1 second to give compassion. That is it. So I thank you for being here because every one of you can help me in this work. Death education is what we need to change the state of death and end-of-life care. Throughout the week, I've had emails and phone calls. People have been ringing me about their grief. They wish that they'd cared more fully for their family members. But of course, they didn't know what to do because there is nothing written out there to teach you how to look after the dying, to teach you how to cope with the grief while you are caring for the person you love. Grief still touches me. Even standing here today, I know it's going to be difficult to talk about those children because they still live in my heart, and that is okay because grief is a natural part of our life and so is death. Death education for every person is instrumental in creating quality end of life and quality of death. Yet the fear of death impacts our ability to be educated. April of this year, I attended the Anzac Day dawn service. My father is a returned sailor, and I joined my mother with 90,000 other Victorians in the dark, in silence, and in the memory of grief. We stood together. It was moving. After the service, my mum Yvonne and I sat on a park bench in the beautiful gardens in Melbourne. My mother spoke. It's very difficult when you know you're coming closer and closer to the end of life. No words were needed. just the deep need for both of us to spend as much quality time as we could together. We knew this in that moment. We hugged with this knowing. In our modern world, acts of terrorism and violence are commonplace. Life is uncertain. Charlotte in the front row, down here, is a student that works with me. Her homeland is Malaysia. 2 weeks before this seminar, the second Malaysian airline went down. I asked Charlotte, how was she coping? She said, "This is a great loss for my country, and I feel very, very sad." We shared some tears. Yet, in meeting you, I've decided I need to focus on deepening my relationships and the connections with the people in my life right now. Death is part of our life. It is a misconception that it's reserved just for the people in their later years. I'd like to read an extract from chapter 7, From Death to Birth. It was 3 minutes past midnight on the 12th of March 2000. My beautiful firstborn baby daughter was born. Tears ran down my face. I searched my mind for answers, and a flash of tiny faces came before me. I had loved them all. I'd held them all. In the same way that I was now holding my own child. But instead of nursing them into life, I had nursed them into death. I felt an overwhelming sadness, and I made a promise right then to my beautiful baby daughter to love her with all of my love and to truly live every day as a gift, to be close and to reflect in our love together, to hold hands and fully love completely until the time came to say goodbye. Death can be the greatest reminder to live life fully, to live a life without regret, to let our loved ones know that we love them, and to find a way to love more deeply and to connect more fully. By understanding death, we understand the preciousness of life. They go hand in hand. As we are born, so will we die. As we love, so will we grieve. This is the cycle of life. To live, to grieve, to love. And so the circle continues. I will read to you chapter 1, Alison, Denial. We sat down, and in the most compassionate way I knew, I told them the truth, that their daughter was dying. I watched their inner rage. Alison's heartbroken father yelled, "Why are you telling us she's dying? She is clearly alive. She is not dying. She is not going to die." They stormed off back to the car, slammed the doors, started the motor and drove off at high speed, screeching along the dirt driveway. As they sped away through the dust cloud and flickering of stones, I saw Alison's face pressed up against the back window, staring at me with a look of desperation in her eyes. All I could do was express as much compassion as I could back to her. I felt helpless, so helpless. She was so alone. Alison's parents were in a state of denial because they could not face the truth and the impact of their grief that their daughter was dying. This denial impacted directly on Alison, as she was left emotionally alone to face her death in the back seat of her parents' car. Alison's story gave me reason to write this book. It was the answer I was looking for. We need death education in this country. He then left the room quietly, closing the door softly behind him.
Congratulations, Mum.
Thank you, Faye, for coming so
Well
far.
done. You ladies are so beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Lovely.